Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's if it's Friday afternoon, 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, it's acceleration time. And we're real happy to be here with you. I'm Steve Farrell, and I'm coming to you from our studio, our humanities team studio in Boulder, Colorado. And as you can see, I'm here with our wonderful partner and good friend, Gregg Braden, who's coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Greg, thank you for joining us.
I'm going to follow your lead. You have much more experience with Acceleration Fridays than I do. And I'm excited for where we go today.
All right, me too. And we've got a great viewing audience. Hey, and viewing audience, thank you for being patient with us. We can see your comments here on the screen. So I know some of you were got here right on time, and we started about 5 minutes late. Thank you for being here. We got a huge viewing audience. So shout out to all of the people in Gregg's community that are coming in here to humanities.team for the first time, to the Humanities Stream Plus community. And we call this Acceleration because this live program is about two things. It's about supporting you on your conscious journey. So this is about accelerating your conscious journey. And then secondly, it's Friday afternoon here in the United States. And hey, time to celebrate. So I've got my favorite water here. We've got our homemade kombucha just behind me. And we always look forward to celebrating. There we are, Gregg. Nice.
It's my missing links mug that they gave me when we filmed the series, Missing Links.
All right. Wow. Yeah, there's a story behind that mug.
So I'm excited about this program, Steve. It couldn't be more timely. You and I have talked about this in the past. You know, we had no idea of knowing what the world would look like now when this program was designed only 3 years ago. What a difference 3 years makes. And the whole thesis of this program is we're at this very powerful crossroad right now in our lifetime between biology and technology. The technology is developing, it's being developed so quickly, and it is designed to replace much of our natural biology. And there are places where that's a good thing, and there are places where, in my opinion, it's a very slippery slope. And this is what a lot of this program is all about. And I want to be really clear, I'm not anti-tech at all. I come from a high-tech world. During the Cold War years and, working on the SDI, Star Wars Defense Initiative, software development, lasers, radars, communication. But the technology in and of itself, it's not right, wrong, good or bad. Our values, the values that we cherish as a society and as a species determine how we implement these technologies. And there is a thinking out there, Steve, that somehow the human body is weak and powerless and flawed as a carbon-based form of life. This is a school of thought that began early in the 20th century, and that the human body, the natural biology, must be replaced as quickly as possible with devices, with computer chips in the brain, chemicals in the blood, wires under the skin, to allow us to fulfill our fullest potential and to allow us to survive as a species. So the movement now toward replacing so much of our biology with the technology, it's not in the future, it's happening right now. And in some societies on Earth, it's happening faster than others. My question is, how much of ourselves do we give away to the technology? And here's why it's important. Because once we relinquish elements of our natural biology to artificial technology, our abilities begin to atrophy within our bodies. Neurons begin to atrophy, neural networks begin to atrophy, and our ability to self-regulate our own biology begins to atrophy. And in one generation that begins, the next generation, the body no longer even knows how to do it. And we very quickly become a different species. So my question, I'm not against the tech. The question is, how much of ourselves do we give away? We cannot answer that until we know who we are. And for the first time, perhaps in a very long time, we are discovering the deep truth of what it means to be human. That's what this program is all about. This is why I invited, and I'm excited, honored to share this virtual stage with my dear friends and colleagues, Dr. Bruce Lipton and Lynn McTaggart, because each of us brings something to this conversation that is very unique, but it fills in the spaces from the other conversations. And it helps us to answer this question, Steve. We cannot know how much of ourselves to give away to the technology until we know who we are. And this conversation, this course, helps us to embrace the new discoveries that are revealing a new human story. And with that story, we're empowered then to make those choices. So I just wanted to say that right off the bat, Steve. I know we're going to flesh this out, but I wanted to give us a launch pad to begin. So thank you for a couple of minutes just to kind of lay that out.
Yeah, no, thank you for that level set. Perfect. And as you mentioned, as you like to share, that we're just beginning to learn who we are is kind of how you frame it. That our
Steve,
sure.
What we're talking about, there is 100-year plus indoctrination that we have all undergone if we've been in public schools in the West, that the human body, we used to think of cells as little sacks of salt water, saline. I mean, early in the 20th century, that's the way they thought about human cells. They had no idea, they couldn't have known the complexity that we now understand. We are the only form of life with the ability to consciously, and I'm going to use this very, very intentionally, we're the only form of life that can consciously self-regulate our own biology. We've all heard of neuroplasticity, where you can change the way that neurons wire and fire together in the brain. Well, now we know those neurons exist in the heart as well. That's revealing a whole new story about our relationship to our own hearts. But beyond neuroplasticity, now we're talking about bioplasticity, the ability to self-regulate the healing, the damage, and repairing and rejuvenating and regenerating glands, organs, tissue, every organ of the human body, even the ones that we were told could not do so, are now documented with the ability to heal themselves, including brain tissue, spinal cord tissue, heart tissue, pancreatic tissue. So now we're talking about bioplasticity, but we're going even beyond that. We're now talking about genetic plasticity, the ability to upregulate and downregulate and actually change the way that genes express in the DNA of our bodies. And of course, we all know that's the code that sends the information to the rest of the body and in terms of how we function and how we perform in our daily lives. So all of a sudden, we're making this quantum leap from thinking of ourselves as powerless victims of a world that we have no control over to self-regulating masters if we understand these relationships and if we choose to apply them in our lives. So this is what I wanted to talk about now. I wanted to talk about deeply in the course, of course, but it's all about the new science of epigenetics. But epigenetics now goes further than what some people have believed in the past. Epigenetics, the word epi, as Bruce Lipton says, means above. So the control above the genes in our bodies. We self-regulate the expression of those genes through environmental factors. So when you say environment, a lot of people think it means, is it hot or is it cold or pollution or whatever. There are many environments. There are nutritional environments. There are chemical environments. There are emotional environments. Perhaps one of the most powerful is the emotional environment that we provide to ourselves. Thoughts, feelings, focus, belief, awareness. These are all epigenetic factors, as well as diet, as well as movement, and the different kinds of movement that affect our bodies in different ways. Whether it's high intensity interval training or steady state cardio training, all of these are epigenetic factors that influence the expression, the neuroplasticity, bioplasticity, genetic plasticity, and we get to choose. And that sets us apart from any other form of life. That is what makes this such a really, really exciting program, an exciting time in our lives, because for the first time, the technology is revealing the new discoveries that tell us just how powerful we are, Steve. So, I can't think of anything more exciting. This conversation used to be a philosophical academic conversation that people would talk about at Starbucks, on the back of a napkin. And now it's front and center for all of us because we live in a world of COVID, in a global pandemic. Our ability to self-regulate our immune response is up for all of us right now. And our bodies are very intelligent. Our bodies know what to do. We've done this for 200,000 years of our existence with whatever contagion showed up in the world today or in the past. So all of a sudden the conversation is very relevant. Longevity, resilience, deep intuition, self-regulation of our immune response, all of these are now at our fingertips through these new understandings.
Yeah, boy, fantastic. Thank you. We've really set the table well here, Gregg. So thank you for that. And this is just a little preview now of what what today through Sunday is about. We're calling it Free Viewing Weekend. It's for this 3-hour free video online series that Gregg Braden, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and Lynn McTaggart created. Smarter, Stronger, Faster is the name of this 3-hour series. And then for those that deeply resonate with the science, the research, and the wisdom in this, there's a masterclass. It's actually starting Tuesday next week called Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. And Gregg, Bruce, Lynn, and the humanities team, and a huge group as of yesterday, about 870 people are going through. We're all starting through on Tuesday. But we want to tell you about the free video series here today. This is what we're talking about, so that you can just go deeper into this subject matter that Gregg is sharing, as you can see, as he's talking about the science here and the research that Lynn brings in, the science that Bruce brings in. There's a lot. There's a lot to lap up, which is why we wanted to just create a whole long previewing weekend for people to go in to the Smarter, Stronger, Faster page. All you have to do is register, and then we send you links to these 3 1-hour programs. You can see on the screen where you go to register for the series. Now, I want to share, this is live. This is, we call it Acceleration in the Humanities Team. Every Friday afternoon we do this. Also, I can see the comments here. I've got them right in front of me, and they're going wild. So thank you. Hello to all of you out there from Gregg and me. Lots of you just commenting. We'll get to your comments and questions here before we sign off. Gregg said we could even go a little longer. We started 5 minutes late. So we will get to some of your comments here during the hour. And thank you all for being here with us on a Friday afternoon. Let's go ahead and cut over to, we've got a little, some footage. It's 6 minutes and 11 seconds. It's called The Silent Battle for Our Story. So this is from Gregg's Module 1 in this masterclass program called Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. We want to just now kind of go down a little deeper with you to give you a sense for what we're talking about here in this series that we're exploring this weekend and that launches.
Steve, Steve, I just wanted to reiterate, this was all done before COVID. We did not know that COVID would happen specifically, but we strongly, Bruce and Lynn and I strongly sensed that we were at a critical crossroad where our ability to access the deep truth of our human potential would become paramount in our lives. So keep in mind, this was done before COVID, and it sets the stage that empowers us so beautifully for the experience we're having. And you never want to wait until the moment you need something to develop it. And I think consciousness knew that we would need access to ourselves, certainly our awareness, our intuition, and that was what led us to put the time and energy into developing this. So when I watched this with that in mind, it's very interesting to see how we prepared ourselves for the very moment that we find ourselves in human history right now.
Yeah, and let me say too, this is only the second time that we've launched this program with this live programming, and the first time it was far and away the biggest program we've ever done in our 18 years as a global nonprofit. And the second time is going to be just right behind the first time. There's a huge group going through, and for good reason, as you mentioned, Gregg. We had, as we were designing this program, COVID wasn't here. But boy, as we're coming out of COVID, if there was ever a time to really look at this blurring of man and machine and to understand how we can fully understand and tap into our potential and capacities it's now. So let's go over to this video footage and then we'll come back and talk some about it.
Hello, everyone. Gregg Braden here. And I'd like to be the first to welcome you to this all new series, this all new program, Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution, a 24-part series where I will be joined with two dear friends, brilliant colleagues of mine, Dr. Bruce Lipton and Lynn McTaggart. Together, we will share with you new discoveries that are changing our story, changing the way that you and I have been taught to think about ourselves, our relationship to our own bodies, our relationship to one another, to the earth, to the future, to the past. The way that we solve our problems, it's all based upon the way we think. And these new discoveries have the potential to change the way we think, yet they are not being shared in the mainstream. You're not seeing these discoveries in mainstream classrooms, textbooks, mainstream television documentaries. And that's what this series is all about. I want to talk to you about a battle. Module 1 is about a battle that's playing out right in front of our lives, in front of our eyes. You know, it's often been said the best way to hide something is to keep it in plain sight. And the battle that I'm going to talk to you about right now follows precisely that line of thinking. Because right in front of us, there's a battle for our thoughts, for our beliefs, for our stories. And we don't often know that that battle is happening. You know, American author Scott Turow maybe said this best. He said, "Who are we but the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and believe?" Now, there's so much packed into this statement because we all have a story. We all tell ourselves a story based upon the way we've been taught to think about ourselves through our family, through our culture, through our society, through our education, through our religion, through our own personal experiences. We weave all of these things together into a story that is both conscious and subconscious. Based upon that story, we solve our problems and we live our lives. So the question is, who are we? But the stories that we tell ourselves consciously and believe. The issue is that sometimes we believe things on a subconscious level that we're really not even aware of. So we can go to all the classes, all the workshops, we can read all the books from all the masters and all the self-help authors, and consciously, logically, we know that we are self-empowered, self-regulating beings. We know that. But when something challenges us in our lives, in our relationships, our most intimate relationships, or even on the level of health, to where our very lives are threatened, the subconscious programs are the ones that will kick in. And those tell us what our true beliefs really are. And sometimes they're very different from what we believe that is our conscious belief. Well, there's a battle that's playing out in our lives right now. I mentioned this battle. It's a battle for our story. The battle for our story, it's made up of our thoughts and our beliefs and something even beyond each of those. Our story is the way we've been taught to think of ourselves. And the battle for our thoughts is playing out in mainstream media. I think this is no secret to anyone. And I believe there aren't any exceptions. I've had the privilege and the opportunity of traveling the world over the last 34 years. This is 34th year that I've done this work in one form or another. And I've had the opportunity to see the events of the world and the events of your life and my life covered through mainstream media as it is reported in different countries on different continents. And it's fascinating to me because so often the pictures are the same, the commentary is very, very different. So there is a battle for our thoughts. It's playing out in all of the mainstream media. And there are extremes in all of the media. It's very, very difficult to find an accurate, objective story that is not laced with commentary or with the thoughts and the feelings of the person sharing the story. And one of the places we really see this, there's a battle for the way we think about climate change. If you believe mainstream media, it's the greatest problem facing us in the world today. The problem is that mainstream scientists, the hardcore scientists, that don't often have a stage from which to speak to thousands of people. They don't have a platform. And I've talked about these in some of my books, such as the book Deep Truth. We talk about this. The book Human by Design, or The Science of Self-Empowerment, as the revised edition is now called. Climate change is certainly important, and we all know that. However, what the scientists now tell us is there are 8 parameters that are called the safe zone for planet Earth. 8 parameters that must be stable for us to have what's called the safe zone to live in. Climate is only one of those 8 parameters, and climate is one of the least. That is the problem right now. 3 of the parameters have already been breached. They're off the chart breached. One of those is biodiversity. We're losing species faster than we can even calculate them. Many of those are in the oceans, at the bottom of the food chain. And when those sources of food begin to diminish, it affects everything up the food chain, including us. The other 2 parameters that have been breached have to do with the biochemistry, the nitrate cycles, ADP cycles of the phosphate cycle. I'm sorry, the phosphate cycles and nitrate cycles. The parameters that allow those to be safe, we're already in the red zone. So climate is important, but climate is part of a system. And this is a holistic system, and we must honor and respect all of these boundaries.
Hey, thank you all for joining us. And it's Friday afternoon. Let's find our kombucha or our nice bottle of Essentia water, tea, yeah, and celebrate. Let's have fun. Thank you all for being with us. We greatly appreciate it. Namaste.
I love you all.
Of you.
Thank you.
Okay, love to all of you.
Bye-bye.